listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am your host, Barnabas.
And I am your co-host, the king of all evil, Samael. Welcome to episode number 58, The Barely Weeping Woman.
Yeah.
Whoa, good title.
You guys will see why I said that.
That's hilarious.
In our main segment coming up a little later on in this episode, where we discuss the Curse of La Llorona.
But speaking of James Wan, good news and bad news.
Yeah, bad news is another remake is coming down the Hollywood horror pipeline, but it's a pretty good one.
It is Salem's Lot.
Yes. Now, it depends, I guess, on how you really feel about it, because this novel originally has already been adapted twice. First time by Tobe Hooper, of course, as we all kind of know, the classic Salem's Lot. Mm-hmm. The really good one with the gnarly looking Count Barlow. You know, that one's great. I love that movie. And then there was the remake in like 2004 or something like that with Rob Lowe for some reason.
I've never watched it. Have you?
I caught it on TV once and it was not that great.
Oh,
honestly, but I don't know.
That's the thing with Stephen King adaptations. They're either great or shit.
Yeah. I'd have to watch the whole thing, but I don't know. It just didn't have the same kind of like charm to me that the original had. But we are getting a new one produced by James Wan, as we've mentioned. And there's not really any further details, but that is happening. So, you know, again, it's another remake. But it does have Gary Dauberman, who wrote it and The Nun, writing the script on this one too. So.
I don't know. You said "and the Nun," so
right, yeah. It wasn't the most coherent story, so we'll see. We'll see. Next up is news that season 3 of Slasher is coming out soon, and this one's called Solstice.
I'm pretty excited because the second season was phenomenal. Besides, like the last few episodes. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's one of those twists where you're like, oh. There's no way you could have figured out what the fuck was going on.
Okay. That's pretty interesting because, yeah, I usually try to, like, really get into it and figure out what's going on.
Dude, you could try all you fucking want. It's not going to happen.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I heard the first season was not that great, but that season 2 was very good. So I do want to at least watch season 2. But this one seems cool. It's got this cool, like, promotional art that mentions, I assume the killer is called the Druid. And it takes place in this apartment block after somebody witnesses him murdering somebody else. So, and he like goes after them. So it sounds pretty cool. You know, visually it looks awesome because it's got like all the neon colors and everything. So I think it could be hit or miss. You know, they have one season that was pretty good and then another season that was not that good. So
I don't know. The first season, I tried to watch it. And then I gave up, and then I was like, yo, let me just give it another shot. Mm-hmm. And I tried it again, I was like, nope. So
okay. No, that's fair enough. I mean, sometimes it's just boring, you know, or like a show takes half the fucking season to just set up, and I don't know. I don't really like those kind of shows, but we'll see what happens with it. The next news article is about, this one's pretty cool, because I saw Mick Foley.
Yeah, that's what got my attention.
On Bloody Disgusting, so I was like, huh, okay. You know, obviously, there's been a lot of wrestlers now that have gone into filmmaking, which is great, usually as actors. But Mick Foley is supposed to star in Brie Grant's 12-Hour Shift alongside Angela Bettis.
And David Arquette's producing it.
Yeah.
And it's about nurses stealing organs and selling them.
Yeah, on the black market. So
does that even exist anymore? There's no more black market. It's just the dark web. That's what it is now.
It's probably like an extension of the dark web.
Yeah.
That's what the next Unfriended movie is going to be. Unfriended, the black market.
Oh, God. We just had Unfriended dark web. Please, no more.
It's just going to be them like live streaming on
that
Facebook
movie had me fucking paranoid.
Yeah, it kind of did for me a little bit too. Like I know that stuff exists, but
Not to that extent.
right. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this movie approaches like the black market angle. I think that's gonna be cool. And with Mick Foley in it, I'm curious as to like see just how much of a comedy it's gonna be. It does say that it's gonna be a horror comedy, and obviously the guy's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So
Naturally.
I know people are hoping that he brings like Mr. Sacco back, and
If he just
You
comes
know.
dressed as fucking mankind, that would
That'd
be
be-
the shit.
that would be great. So yeah, guys, be on the lookout for that one too. Again, no release date yet on this one, but we'll keep you posted. And then we've got a few trailers
Fuck you.
to announce as well. You guys have probably at least came across these.
No, you haven't. Not the first one. Fuck you.
I've been seeing it on social media. The Velocipaster.
So there's this pastor, right? And he hates bad people. So he turns into a dinosaur and kills them. Did you see that fucking puppet dinosaur in the
It
fucking...
was so bad, dude.
This is probably going to be a worse movie than Slaughterhouse Massacre, all right?
Is this gonna be worse than House Shark though? Let's think about that.
Or
one.
The Shark Exorcist.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I have to watch those fucking movies.
I feel like I do too. Just so I have like a pedigree or like something to hold to, a higher standard at least, because those would be like the bottom of the
I don't
barrel.
think...
feel
I know
like.
the first Sharknado was made by Asylum. That little... They make like...
Shit movies.
mockbusters.
Yeah.
Like there was this movie like 11-11-11. So they made 11/11/11, and they had bootlegged Thor, and they had
Wow.
H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. They had they did a knockoff of Infinity Wars.
Oh my god.
Those are the guys that started Sharknado
Yeah.
too.
Ugh. Well, fuck those guys.
Fuck them.
But Velocipaster is coming out.
It's so dumb.
On the poster it says a man of the claw. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. There's like ninjas. The priest turns into a velociraptor, and it looks like one of those inflatable T-Rex outfits with like the little
That's exactly what it looked like.
the little screen thing, and he's like tearing somebody's clearly fake arm off the.
I'd love to be a part of one of these
man.
movies. Just fucking, just get killed in like the most nonsensical way,
Yeah.
like some microwave massacre type shit.
If you guys are at all interested in the Velocipaster,
Don't.
that's what
Don't
it's
listen to
about.
Barnabas.
And it is going to be releasing nationally at least later this year, but you can catch it at Texas Frightmare Weekend on May 3rd. I don't know why you'd want to go to Texas in general, or no, I'm just kidding, but you guys can catch it there if you want. The next one is actually not really for a class or like a pure horror thing, but
Now, this had horror elements though, like hella horror elements.
it did, yeah.
But like the trailer was fucking all over the place.
It was, yeah.
Like,
DC's
you're like, how is this any of this gonna make sense or fall together?
right. So DC's Swamp Thing, the official like teaser trailer dropped today. There's been a whole bunch of stuff about this show because it like apparently had to end production with only like 3 episodes left or something like that, and so people thought they weren't going to release it, and then like literally the next day they dropped that first teaser trailer with Derek Mears as Swamp Thing like coming out of the water. Now there's an actual teaser trailer, and yeah, like you said, it's got horror elements in it. They don't really even say anything or give a hint as to like what the story kind of is, but it sounds like it's going to be an origin story type of
I
thing.
like the end where he just kind of like he walks out the swamp after that one
Yeah.
chick.
No,
That
looked
shot
cool.
was good.
Somebody said that it looked like he had on bad cosplay, and I just completely resent that because I thought that the practical makeup with the whole costume was actually really good.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know why. It's not enough CGI, bro. It's always the bros that have this problem with these movies, and it's just very irritating.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it looked good. The horror elements actually looked cool, and it is supposed to be like, rated R. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm looking forward to Swamp Thing. And it is coming out May 31st on the DC Universe app. So it's another standalone app, which I'm kind of getting tired of. But if you want to watch Swamp Thing, you can watch it on there. The last one is for the newest Into the Dark installment called All That We Destroy.
Why does that kid look so familiar? Where's he from?
I've like heard of him too, but I don't know.
I've literally seen him recently.
Hmm.
Like very recently. I don't know where the fuck he's from, but so basically there's this kid, right, and his mom loves him, and he just can't stop killing. So he keeps killing the same girl over and over, and they keep cloning her. So it's kind of like the movie Elizabeth Harvest. So
Yeah, slightly. But it looks pretty cool. This is coming out for Mother's Day. So one of the big things is
not
that
Cinco
the mom,
de Mayo. What the fuck? That would have been cool. Some fucking
I think so too.
evil Mexican spirits.
They're like, hey, what's happening in May? Oh, Mother's Day. Okay, that's better than the Mexican one.
yeah.
Okay, great.
I think it's because they like, I don't know, they touched on like societal issues in like a lot of these. Maybe they're trying to like get away from like racial stuff.
Yeah, and
like,
focus more on.
They're because like honestly, some people just won't watch a movie just because like it has all like Mexican actors or all black actors or stuff like that. You know,
Subtitles even.
Yeah, like I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, me neither. But this one does seem to kind of be focusing more on the family aspects since it is Mother's Day. So really intently focusing on this mother who is a geneticist, and yeah, he keeps bringing back the victim of her son. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, I feel like it's going to explore like, how far would you go for your kid, that kind of thing, which has been explored a lot in film. But
I think everyone will go far, like if they actually care about their kids. So I don't know why they just keep, how far will you go for your kid? We've seen the first instance that I can remember of like a parent sacrificing is like Jason's mom. There you go.
Yeah.
That's all. We've already established that parents care a lot. Like,
But, with this being kind of more sci-fi, I think that there's a lot of threads that they can weave in a lot of ways. They can like take the story and the characters, especially with the horror elements that are present to him, like killing all the time, basically indiscriminately. So it looks pretty cool to me. Again, it's been hit or miss with these Into the Dark movies.
yeah,
so
it really has.
we'll see if they can kind of keep it up. But the production quality actually looks pretty decent, so I'll probably give this one a shot. It's coming out May 3rd on Netflix.
Where's that fucking kid from, though, that keeps killing you? Like,
I don't know. We'll figure it out. So let's move on now. But before we get into our next segment, we do, of course, have to give a shout out to Sports Radio Detroit. And we just worked with Mr. Roger Castillo from Over Under Fair on an episode, our last episode 57, which was The Perfect Organism about aliens. So if you guys haven't listened to that one yet, you should definitely do so and go check out Over Under Fair and all other awesome shows on SRD. Sam, why don't you tell them where the people can find them?
You can find all of us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sports Radio Detroit. That's SRD, not Detroit Sports Radio. All right?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Get it correct. So in this next segment, we're going to explore a cult classic horror film and really kind of dissect it and give our retrospective perspective on it. So we're going to do that in this week's Cult Corner. And in this week's Cult Corner, we have I feel like at least pretty unknown movie, and one of the big goals of the Cult Corner is to kind of expose people to maybe lesser known cult horror films. So we've got 1985's Superstition.
Yes, it just got released by Shout Factory / Scream Factory. 80s ghost slasher, this sounds good.
Yeah.
The last one we watched, Scream, aka The Forgotten, not the Scream you're thinking of, was very, 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 very low quality, low budget.
Yeah.
Like, ghost, moving, kill, shots of the buildings. What are we gonna do?
Pretty bad.
Shots of the
buildings.
buildings.
Just those like really frantic, like quick shots of just shit being thrown and stuff like that to kind of simulate like there's a ghost. It's like, all right, Steve, move your camera another 5 miles an hour, like faster. Gotta get that one again to make it look like there's, but Superstition didn't really do that. I thought this one actually was pretty effective.
Yes, and you know what's crazy? This and semi-spoiler alert, Curse of La Llorona were like really similar. I'm not gonna give it away.
One of the cool things about Superstition though is that the antagonist is basically this, ages old witch, or like that's what you assume, and you don't really get to see a ton of her throughout the movie, which I thought was actually really cool.
Yeah.
And there are some more like supernatural kind of kills in the movie, but they're really brutal and gory.
it's like it's a slasher movie, but it's a ghost. You get to
Mhm.
see like shots of her creepy ass fingers, and of course you see like the black robe and stuff. I think that's the most you really see.
Yeah, you don't really ever see like her face at all. But you're right. It kind of takes the story and approaches it in the way that like a normal slasher movie would.
Yeah, which is weird.
Sort of.
So this and Scream, I think these are like, and The Fog. Those are like three movies I can think of off the top of my head that are
Mhm.
like at least a similar premise, like ghost slashers. You know?
Yeah, kind of. Because, even though she was supposed to be like a witch, we didn't really see her do a ton of witchy stuff.
No.
Other than just kind of like control things.
And
to kill
brutalize people.
Yeah. So there was that too. But, it wasn't like a killer with a knife or a machete or anything. You'd see like this clawed hand if you saw anything at all. And that was about it until like the end of the movie. And yeah, it was just like a body count movie.
Yeah,
pretty
it really
much.
was. And the thing I liked about this movie a lot was sure it was kind of cheesy because 1985. I felt like it didn't withstand the test of time, but if you're an 80s fan, like, you will not give a shit. This will be like,
Mhm.
you'll be like, I was looking for something like this. Another thing that sticks out is its score. It kind of reminded me of like The Possession, the 1981 one with the
Mhm.
with my favorite thing to talk about, the
Yeah, we're
ooh.
on like a streak now.
I love the foreboding music in these movies. We keep getting into movies with foreboding music, and
Mhm.
I just haven't been any
I
happier.
feel like, that should be at least in most horror movies or some variation of
Yeah.
it. Because you got to build some kind of layer of suspense.
Yeah, and
You know.
this had atmosphere.
Mhm.
It wasn't really didn't really have any funny moments or happy-go-lucky moments like a lot of 80s movies do. This was just kind of like, it was pretty serious,
Mhm.
to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, let me highlight one scene in particular that I thought kind of illustrated that pretty well. And then, I mean, if you have one too, feel free to say it. But there was one scene where this new family moved into the house that was being, like haunted by this witch. And so they moved in, and then there's a scene where they're by like the lake or whatever it is
Mhm.
that's right
Yeah,
by their
yeah.
house. And I think one of the daughters goes in, like the teenage daughter, and as she's coming out, she's like, oh my God, there's something like grabbing my leg. And we thought it was maybe a prank,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. And when she like crawled out, there was like a hand attached to her leg. And the entire time it had this pretty cool, just side wide shot of that whole scene. And the whole time there's that like, no, 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 or
Yeah,
whatever, however that music went. And, it was actually like pretty suspenseful. I was like, oh shit, what else is in that lake,
Yeah, I don't know. They probably had like tons of fucking body parts up in that
Mhm.
bitch. But the scene for me, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, even if we're spoiling it, you should watch it
Yeah.
because it's not new or anything.
Sounds
It's a
great.
cult movie. Scream Factory, Shout Factory, Amazon, order it. But the best part for me was it kind of ignored like the classic tropes, because like
Mhm.
it was a supernatural movie, so it didn't really have to follow any of like the slasher rules. And it didn't because we saw a child get killed.
Yeah, I agree. It was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say how, but that was definitely one of my favorite kills. Honestly, like most of the kills in this movie are memorable for me. 'Cause, I'll admit a lot of slashers I watch, even though I love them, I don't remember like all the kills
Yeah,
or
same.
anything. But like this movie, I can remember the saw kill.
Oh
I
god,
can
yeah.
remember the window kill.
Dude, the Saw kill was like the fucking best.
That it was.
Because
Really good.
it came out the fucking blue.
Yeah.
Like nothing hinted that anything was gonna happen.
No, it was. They were all, in my opinion, pretty effective, and the story in between was okay. I mean, it was kind of typical '80s story, and character interaction was, it was like the '80s, but you could tell that this movie was kind of inspired by giallo films.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the camera angles they took were very giallo-like.
Like or the ones where they're like it'll be like a really far away shot
Mhm.
and then it'll like start zooming in like real quick. Like I was like, oh man, that's some giallo shit.
Yeah, or there was that one scene where the priest, David, who was pretty much the main character, he was speaking with, I think it was the police inspector, and they were in kind of like the lobby, like the main area of the house, and the camera was actually on the first landing of like the stairs that was all the way across the room, and it was just like pointed down at them, and you could see the banister and everything, like the railing and everything like that. So I was like, man, that looks like a Dario Argento shot,
Yeah.
basically. So yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, we've talked about it before that a lot of slashers were kind of inspired more or less by Giallo.
Hell yeah.
And this
there's
one
no
was
doubt.
obvious.
I mean, look, I know Halloween had its like mainstream like appeal, and that's what really kickstarted the mainstream slashers like Slumber Party Massacre and Friday the 13th, My Bloody Valentine, all of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But Giallos have been around before Halloween. I mean, even Blood and Black Lace, what was that, the 60s?
Yeah, I think
Wasn't it like
the
60?
late 60s.
Yeah, I thought it was like 60, either 68 or 63, one of those two. But like,
Something like that.
even fucking Peeping Tom, you know what I'm saying? Like, there have been like slashers before Halloween and even Black Christmas and even Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't want to go off and name them because I can't think of them off the top of my head if I sat down and just...
But yeah, I mean, there's some that were definitely predecessors to Halloween, but they were viewed in that time as like kind of the black sheep.
Yeah.
You know, like Hitchcock was doing suspenseful kind of scary stuff sometimes, but he wasn't going off the rails with blood and
No, he wasn't.
and just titties out everywhere, nipples and stuff, you know.
Fucking Giallos would have this like fucking shiny red fucking blood that was clearly just paint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But there was a lot of it usually,
Oh, yeah.
or something fucked up was happening.
Buckets of blood.
Yeah, like somebody's, like the victim's brother would have killed her because he wanted to fuck his mom or something crazy like that. You know,
We
like
need,
that's a Giallo.
we need
movie,
80s crossover movies.
Yeah,
Like fucking Willard takes a final exam
Oh my
on
God.
Friday the 13th.
I wouldn't watch that.
I'd be like, yo, what the fuck's about to happen? He unleashes the rats on
Oh.
Jason, and then the final exam guy comes out. What about
Oh,
me?
no. But anyway,
80s, 80s,
yeah.
80s, 80s.
Superstition didn't have a lot of those elements. I don't really think it featured any nudity or
First person shots, really.
yeah, kind of, not really. It was a lot more simplified in the cinematography in that way. But
And we had a creepy little girl running around the whole time.
yeah, which I
You
won't spoil
You
it.
kind of feel like she's part of it.
Yeah, because
like-
she's just so weird.
Yeah,
out
like,
of
'cause,
place.
and no one really saw her besides like
Mhm.
the kid and like the one dude, and then
Yeah. So this movie actually had a lot of pretty cool elements to like the story, like that one, for example, like the the crazy caretaker.
yeah,
He was just running around shouting nonsense, and there he was kind of there, but he seemed like he was more involved on the antagonist side almost. Like he didn't really know what to expect with him. And then of course there was like his mom, the old lady. So I mean the characters were pretty cool. I didn't particularly care for a lot of them.
no, I
but
just cared more about like
kind of what was going on.
exactly like
Yeah.
these movies. I don't care about the characters, so you don't even try to develop them in the 80s. You know, just develop
Yeah.
like the main protagonist or like
Yeah.
his or her significant other, like them two. It's fine.
Yeah, which we kind of did with the
Yeah.
priest, but
A lot of 80s movies do that though.
Mhm.
Like we kind of see Jamie Lee's Jamie Lee's kind of like relationship with her friends. That's 78, but I'll give it to it. But
yeah.
fucking Night of the Demons, like you kind of can't figure out who's the main character, and then like you get like more shots of this one girl at the beginning than of other girls, and
Mhm.
you get to know her little brother and her boyfriend, and you're just like, aha, I see now, you know. So
Yeah, it was
all 80s movies did that, but this one was just like, people used to live here. There was a witch. They drowned her.
Mhm.
She's back. Now everyone's dying.
Yeah, we kind of got some kind of, interaction and relationship building with the family that moved in. But, at one point you kind of realize that they were just expendable. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was kind of questionable. And they came in throughout like half the movie or something like that, like halfway into it. So maybe a little sooner than that. I don't exactly remember, but it was kind of weird. Like, I was kind of rooting for the priest. So the ending kind of left me a little disappointed. It happens a lot, honestly, and it happened in a lot of 80s movies, so I'm not that surprised by it. I'm kind of glad we moved away from that in horror,
Yeah.
but not really.
This ended the same way, but basically Spookies ended.
Yeah. Even some modern movies still kind of do it,
The
including one that we'll talk about in our next segment. But,
Ah.
I just want to leave off by saying that I think Superstition actually did a lot of things right. It was really interesting that it was a supernatural movie that had the structure kind of and the body count of like a slasher movie.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that the Slayer almost, except we saw
The Thing at the end.
Yeah, and we saw more of like the witch thing in Superstition, which I liked, and I liked that they kept her hidden and in the shadows and stuff.
Yeah, that's what really made it like super effective, because like when you kind of like show off the monster too much, you just ruin the mystique of it. Like, not counting, not the monster movies, show the monsters, but supernatural, you know what I mean, the villain. Once you show them, it's kind of like, meh. Yeah. But this did well. We didn't see her face. We kind of saw who she was at the end. That bitch got stabbed though. But that's about it. What else can I mention about this film? Like I said, score was great. Cinematography was, like, you could tell, like, some shots, like you said, Giallo inspired, and some shots were shaky here and there, I thought. But other than that, like, there was nothing really wrong with this movie. I would say it's above average. It's not on like, I'm never gonna watch this again or like for years type shit. Like, I'm probably gonna revisit it soon, actually, just to like pick up on like the stuff I probably missed out on, and just enjoy it again, because I mean, I enjoyed myself watching it. And when it's over, it kind of feels like the movie like flew by, but it really didn't. Like, if like, it's well paced. That's what I liked about it. Like,
I agree with
it didn't feel like it dragged on. It felt perfect. Like, pacing was good.
I mean, there are a couple of scenes of exposition with like the priest talking to somebody, but for the most part, it actually goes from scene to scene pretty smoothly.
Yeah,
and keeps the action up. So yeah, I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I've been waiting a while to see it, and I finally got it, and we finally watched it.
Yep. So yeah, guys. I mean, I would say that we pretty much recommend this movie. I think it is available somewhere to stream. So go check it out.
Amazon
if you can
Prime.
Find it. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's probably Prime.
I think it's like $4 to rent it or buy it or whatever.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely worth it. So, if you do check it out, let us know what you think about it. But we are going to move on to our main segment. But first, a couple words from some other SRD shows.
Do you love pop culture? Discussions about pop culture? Ranking and rating treasured pieces of that shared culture against each other?
I mean, I do think Flea's a good bass player. He does what he does very well. And like I said, he's like a rock star, He's eccentric. And what is so funny?
I just didn't know he talked so long about Flea. I didn't know anybody had so many feelings.
I do.
So many
I got
feelings.
Yeah.
Music, movies, television, food, sports, pro wrestling. We are the determination of what is over or underrated across all fields of greater cultural consumption. Subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts and Podbean, or visit us at sportsradiodetroit.com. Over Under Fair, your final word in pop cultural relevance.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Bryant. Catch me, E, and Brian on Pearson's Piece, 8 to 9 a.m. on Sports Radio Detroit Network, CRB, on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else you can find podcasting.
And welcome back, Fiends, to our main segment this week, where we are going to review The Curse of La Llorona. So, Samael, we've got the new spooky ghosty movie
from
this is the
spooky ghosty.
James Wan himself, who produced this one, directed by Michael Chavez. And, going into this, we didn't really know that this was going to be part of the Conjuring-verse.
We had no fucking idea.
I kind of thought they might try to connect it somehow, but
they did with one scene, and it showed the Annabelle doll and the priest.
So, this is a new Conjuring-verse movie. What direct, impact will it have on any of the rest of it?
None.
Probably none. There was actually, I read a deleted scene that would have made more of a clear connection at the end of the film, but they cut it, which makes it kind of strange that they even kept the rest of it in, because I was like, why is it important really that this is in the Conjuring-verse? Just to be like, yeah, this world really is inhabited by ghosts, like, I don't know, I think you've already established that. But anyway, this movie focuses on the titular character, La Llorona, as this evil entity which originated in Mexican folklore, which is cool. I liked that they were trying to kind of hone in on like another country's folklore
Yeah.
for this, which is really cool. So why don't you tell people briefly like what this movie is about?
So, there's this lady that they call La Llorona. Her husband cheated on her, and she drowned her kids. She deeply regretted it, so now she wanders the earth for all of eternity looking for kids to replace her kids. And she focuses in on this social worker's family for some reason, for some reason, focusing on this Latino lady and her kids. And then you get the rest of the movies. Then you just replace the rest of the movie with some Insidious / Conjuring style jump scares, and there you have it. I really don't know how else to explain it.
All right, so yeah, there you go. That's basically the entire movie. So yeah, that's essentially kind of the setup, which we learn more or less through even just watching the trailers or like the promotional stuff. You know, it's got that sort of typical story behind it, or like plot behind it, which so initially like I thought it could have been a little more inspired because
It was dry.
It was just, I mean, I get that this is what these movies are, is the typical kind of American family and the haunted house kind of thing, since a lot of them are pulled from like the Warrens case files. And, you know, if a haunting happens, it's probably going to be in your house. Like that, you know, that's cool. But it just felt very stale to me after watching all of those other movies that you mentioned. And they didn't really do anything very interesting in it. And to top it all off, we have a movie about this like Mexican folklore demonic entity, and then there's like a white woman and her two like half Mexican children, for whatever reason, Asian. Being attacked by this, like, so I don't know, it was just a weird decision for me, because it's like, does everybody really have to be white?
Yeah.
First of all, you know, but I don't know. I just think they could have done a little bit better with that legend.
I think so too, because like they talked about her tears and her crying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And as the episode mentions, there were barely any. There's like 2 scenes where you hear her crying. Literally 2 scenes where you can just. It sounds like a fucking when you fucking steal the fat kids' Pop-Tarts on the playground, like that type of crying.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do much with the tears either. Like they showed someone getting sort of burned by her tears, and you know the people had marks on their arms. Like, what is this? And
Yeah, I
like,
feel like that was
La
a
Llorona.
stupid
That was.
element.
Do you know what this is? That's La Llorona's mark. Like, how do you know she didn't just fucking press herself on a fucking space heater and like do that to herself?
You know what? That feels like one of those like elements that they just throw in. Like, you know, this could be part of the folklore. I actually am not sure, but it feels like something they just kind of made up so they could have a character go and seek help and be like, look, do you know what this is? Oh my God, I do know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm like the only person in the entire world that knows what that is. And that's how like the plot progresses.
It was just so stereotypical because it was like, let's ask the church for help.
Yeah.
Church, can you help us? No, but we know one man who can.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
There's
movies.
always some like pseudo priest
Oh my
or like
God.
voodoo witch doctor.
Stop adding comedic relief into very serious horror movies.
Yeah, this movie kind of had some just weird like humor scenes.
Yeah, it was just like and for a movie that focused mainly on atmosphere, which it did all right, I just felt like there were too many like up close shots for me. Like every frame it was like someone, and you could only see like their mid chest to like the top of their head, and like every shot was like, hey, look how close this camera is to this guy's face, and you're just like, all right, bro, can we like switch up the cinematography just a little bit? I didn't like the cinematography. Like at the beginning, it was all right. I was like, oh, this is nice, and then but once the movie became like this depressing atmospheric movie, it was just like, hey, let's close up on everyone's face one at a time. Like
it's pretty similar, I feel like, to a lot of the other movies in the whole Conjuring-verse and in this sort of specific subgenre of horror or even paranormal films. But yeah, it was either a lot of that or it was a lot of like really just flailing around kind of shots of the environment and like the set and everything. Which, I mean, I don't know.
That doesn't add fucking anything to it. Like,
yeah.
If you want to do that shit right, if you want to like show the setting and all that stuff, like follow like what Shutter Island and Woman in Black did. Just have like very subtle shots and like don't have it drag out so goddamn much, because that's another thing with this movie. It fucking dragged on. Every time you thought there was a resolution, oh, what do you know? Someone's gonna fuck it up. Like,
yeah, it kind of just went from sort of scary scene to sort of scary scene, but like every scene like that was pretty much just a predictable jump scare.
I didn't jump at any scene.
No.
I watched Alien last week. I jumped.
Yeah, oh yeah, and like you kind of know if you have any sort of sense like that something is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And it really tries to kind of mess with you and be like, oh, maybe this scene there's going to be a jump scare, but psych, no there isn't. It's just a regular expository fucking dialogue scene, that just kind of makes you think for a second. But it's like, I don't know, it didn't really fool me. So
they need to have it like Insidious, when people are just having a conversation and then all of a sudden the demon shows up like right behind someone and just like that.
Yeah.
That would be a good jump scare. If jump scares are executed well, I really like them, because if they scare me, I'll be like, oh, that was good, you got me. But if it's just like someone's walking down a hall, they turn around, the camera changes from in front of them to behind them, and there's nothing behind them, then they turn around 2 seconds later, start walking, and something jumps out from in front of them. Like when the kid ran away from her, spoiler alert, and then he ran down the hallway and he's waiting, and then she jumps out from his right.
Yeah.
Obviously she's gonna jump out from his right. He was right next to the only other place that she could jump out from. He was like right in the middle of the hallway. Everything else was like wall, door. Like where else is she gonna come from? And clearly that scene was set up to be a jump scare. Like,
basically, like if the camera whooshes, you can either expect a jump scare or expect that it's going to try to fake you out at least one time, and then it like moves away and then it comes back. So like, it's coming.
Yeah.
But it just really tries to get you with the brah, but movies like Alien, you didn't really get that, because you just saw people kind of going through the ship and doing their thing. And maybe there would be a shot that's kind of lingering, but you really didn't know like to expect that the alien was going to pop out. Or another movie even seen, for example, one of the most famous in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
That one was ballsy, because it was like, all right, we're basically going to tell you that there's going to be a jump scare, but you have no idea what it's going to be or when it's going to happen or anything like that.
It freaked me out, even though I was expecting it.
Yeah, no, that's how everybody is, and like that's effective. So, this is really kind of just copying the same basic style of jump scare from all these other movies, and at least to me, they were all like very predictable.
Same, yeah. I didn't get scared at all during this movie.
No, I didn't care about that at all.
You see me when we're at theaters, usually I'll like brace myself, I'll check my heart rate, I'll be sitting there like, and I tried it during the last movie, and like my heart was like super calm watching La Llorona. Like,
yeah, like you said, some of the atmosphere was developed pretty well, but the scares just didn't hold it up at all. The story didn't hold it up at all, because honestly, it was just pretty boring. We've seen the mom and her kids are trying to be taken by the ghost thing before, and if you don't really do anything new with it, then it's just the same old thing,
If you want to watch a good like fucking supernatural lady movie, go watch Mama. Like, like
sure, yeah. Or even Superstition. Was
Superstition.
Great, So
even if you don't want the Mama shit, go watch fucking, I don't fucking know. Go watch even Paranormal Activity, because that movie craps on this one.
Yeah. The Curse of La Llorona was just very typical for me.
Yeah, it's not really like it doesn't seem like something like after making Saw and Dead Silence and Insidious, like you'd think James Wan would have like something new in his repertoire, but
well, that's the thing, he attaches his name to these things as producer, and everybody freaks out about it, and that's why they go see the movie. But unless he's directing the movie, I feel like he really is not on top of it most of the time.
Yeah, no, he needs to direct more.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like how Sam Raimi's becoming. I mean, I love the guy and everything, but he's definitely attached his name to some stuff that has been pretty shit as producer.
Oh yeah.
And James Wan, kind of the same thing. He can.
I don't know why he funded this,
but because he wanted this to be part of the Conjuring universe. That's why, so that it could become even more of an empire.
This was like one of the worst Easter weekends for movies ever. So
that's true. Yeah,
especially for this movie.
Yeah, it was still the #1 movie obviously, but yeah, it didn't really win me over, unfortunately. I thought it was just a pretty poor attempt at the same kind of template.
Not to mention the CGI was just plain awful.
Oh yeah. No,
Like this was like the Nun Part 2 for me.
Every single jump scare, basically, I'll just tell you guys right now. It was a little bit of the in like 2 of them, and then it was just the CGI of La Llorona, and she's just screaming, and that was really it. But it wasn't scary at all.
No,
you know, it
like
was just
literally
like,
at all. I was not scared.
It was just like the caked on white makeup, and this was CGI too, so that makes it even worse. You know, because it looked like it was just the caked on white like practical makeup and some like black streaks, like some Marilyn Manson shit,
and it wasn't even real.
And it was CGI, and just so they could get her mouth to open up a little bit more. Like, I don't know, it was
dumb.
Yeah, I didn't like that aspect of it at all. So I think that this was just a slightly lower effort than they normally go for. If they had gone for practical effects, if they had gone for a little bit more like suspense, you know, and not just like the obvious build up to a jump scare, then I think this movie definitely could have been saved. Raymond Cruz, who played the weird kind of priest guy, you know, I'm glad to see him get kind of top billing more or less for a movie, because he deserves it. But they made his character super weird, like he was really serious and tough, but then he'd crack a joke like every 5 minutes.
That's what I was talking about earlier, the misplaced humor.
Yeah.
Like,
so, you know, and like he's a pretty funny guy, but I don't know, the character for me just like didn't really work at all. And then Linda Cardellini as the main character, Anna, I love her, but I think she overacted on this one, or the direction was just poor.
I think the direction was poor.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she wasn't the only one, you know what I mean? Everyone... Oh, God, I just hate this movie. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, there have been people that have vouched for it. A lot of people have liked it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So, it's you know, kind of mixed right now.
Not everyone has taste.
Well... Yeah, you know who you are.
Dude,
but
even check fucking Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
this guy.
even the users, a lot of the users and critics all hate this movie, basically.
Yeah. No, it's just the same thing. You know, I love the Conjuring-verse. I hope the Conjuring 3 knocks it out of the park. Annabelle Comes Home kind of looks the same, but I feel like if they're going to keep exploring these kind of contemporary haunted house ghost type movies, they need to do something different. Either something with the acting, something with the set design, or the effects, you know, something. Because as La Llorona kind of showed us, it's getting a little stale. So
it is, bro. Especially like, I've watched almost every single paranormal movie in the past like 10 years. And literally, it hasn't changed since Paranormal Activity came out.
Yeah.
Like, the direction of supernatural movies. The only one that was kind of like pretty different, well, 2 I can think of off the top of my head: Hereditary and Winchester. Those were 2 completely different like paranormal movies.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. This one was not it for me. But if you guys do decide to check it out, let us know what you think about it, of course. But we are going to move on now to our last segment, where we're going to look at a new streaming horror film and let you guys know if you should watch it or not on The Chopping Block. And on this week's Chopping Block, Fiends, we have a brand new creature feature that has made its way to Netflix called The Silence.
Oh, God.
All right, so tell us how you really feel about this one without, you know, giving away too much.
First, let me give a little background. This thing was based on a book written in 2015, and then they started filming the same time they started filming. I think it was
A Quiet Place.
Yeah, in 2017. And you know what's troubling about this is one of the writers for this movie, or producer, something. He used to work for the Asylum.
I think it was one of the writers.
The mockbuster fucking thing
that we talked about before.
Yeah, and big problem. I don't know how Netflix just released this like it wasn't like a complete, let's take Bird Box and then switch it out with Quiet Place elements. Like, that's all it was, and it brought nothing new. Sabrina was in it. Aunt Zelda was in it.
Yeah. Kiernan Shipka and Miranda Otto, oddly enough, are both in this movie. I guess because they're both on Sabrina, so Netflix was just like, hey, you guys want to be in this movie with Stanley Tucci?
Yeah.
And they were like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't fucking know. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know. They're like, yo, how about we release a movie that's probably going to have a bunch of bad reviews? Okay, let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
no one will notice that this is a Bird Box and a Quiet Place ripoff.
So, like you said before, it is based off a 2015 book, so technically it's not really a ripoff per se, but it does feature pretty much the same elements. So clearly now, after the release of those other two movies,
It wanted to cash in. That's all it wanted.
So, I don't know if I would consider it like a ripoff necessarily, but it was
Cash
just like
grab.
a really poorly timed, similar horror film. You know?
With let me
That was
also say, really questionable production value.
Kind of.
It
yeah.
was like, even like the sound effects for the hits were like very bad.
Yeah, sort of. Because I feel like they spent most of their budget on the CGI, which was not that great.
Oh yeah, guys, spoiler alert. The new thing to be scared of is bats or vesps.
Yeah. So if you're not aware of the plot completely, basically, these prehistoric creatures who hunt based on sound are released, and they cause apparently a global epidemic, and it's kind of the end of the world. So
Dude,
this
you know
film-
what? Right at the beginning when these dudes are going through that cave and you just hear the and then like all the fucking bat noises, and I was like, don't let it be bats. And then I saw the bats and I was like, bats.
Yeah,
Like,
it basically is bad.
it's bats. Vesps, creatures, it's bats. It's extra large bats that have
Yeah.
been underground for too long.
Yeah, so they cause this global, basically apocalypse, or at least that's what it's kind of implying, because this movie kind of is in the throes of like the beginning of the post-apocalyptic thing, which is kind of different.
And that's what pissed me off, because like we already had cults and it like the apocalypse just started.
Yeah.
She is fertile. Like
Yeah, that part is weird. So okay, so that's kind of the basic setup of this film. And so
people
you
are the
think
problem.
you think that it's going to be more of like a creature feature with these, bat things attacking, and they are in this movie and they are a central part of the movie, but eventually the movie kind of focuses less on them and more on like the people are bad element. And
You know what I don't get?
know. I don't think that this was like the right movie or even format for this. Like I feel like doing that in a series is just better.
I feel like you could get rid of these things easy. Just get like one building-sized wood chipper, and like as seen, they'll all run into it.
Yeah. That part was kind of cool, but I don't know. They just didn't really play a big enough part for me, because I feel like the entire movie really should have been this, frantic race for survival against these things, and it turned into like The Walking Dead light with just these monsters that were overly CGI in most cases and weren't really all that interesting to me. This was like if
Yeah.
you tried to do The Descent but made it this really like grand scale kind of event and outside. I don't know. It just didn't really.
I know what you mean.
It just didn't really like make sense.
No,
to
I
me.
feel you, dude. I was severely disappointed. The funniest part was the actress who plays Sabrina. I don't know
Yeah,
her.
Kiernan Shipka.
Kiernan Shipka. Okay, so Ms. Shipka, she did not. She knows her sign language. All right, she
Yeah.
knows that shit very well.
She's
like,
deaf. Like that's kind of the whole like
yeah.
big.
She, but
character
she's
thing.
like, I don't know why they didn't make her sound deaf.
'Cause I think
Just because she lost her hearing recently, like,
yeah, I
dude.
guess
If
so.
if I just became deaf, I would eventually start talking like, "Hey boy," like, "Hey guy, wake up," like,
Yeah.
just because I can't hear myself, so I don't know like how clearly I'm saying the words. Like, you need to hear to be able to speak
Yeah.
correctly. And since it's been like 3 years for her, she would have at least had a little bit of like, I've been around deaf people. Like, I have a sibling who's deaf in one ear, and like she even had like speaking problems when she was younger, and like when she started losing hearing, like even her speech started getting a little fucked up. So
That was one of the criticisms that I read
she's not
about
a
this
deaf.
movie.
She doesn't seem like a deaf person.
Yeah, I mean,
Her sign language is on point though. Like,
Yeah, there was some like really picky stuff about her sign language. Obviously, I wouldn't know apparently it was mostly really good, and she picked it up quick, which is great. I mean, I feel like learning something like sign language for a role, like that's awesome, and it's good that she did it, but, yeah, she just didn't really seem like how a deaf person would have seemed, especially in that kind of situation. At least, I don't know, from my knowledge about being deaf.
My buddy said this, and I agree. He watched this movie. He's like, the things these people do doesn't seem like things people would do in real life to these situations that are happening. Like, dude, if someone came to my house and said the girl is fertile, I if I was fucking Stanley, I would have shot him, and then closed my door, and then those bats will come to the noise and kill the rest of the cult. You know what I mean? Because they would scatter away. They wouldn't just sit there quiet. Their leader just got shot in the face.
That was kind of that was one of the dumber parts at kind of the end of the movie.
Also, why was he tongueless and hissing at people if he's a fucking pastor?
That's the thing. This movie kind of did that. Bird Box kind of did it. Obviously, they're based off the novels, but I don't know why. For some reason, every time that there's some kind of crazy post-apocalyptic thing, and it seems to be only when there's some kind of supernatural monster, for some reason, but there's always like some cult or religious group that's crazy that gets involved in the story. And I can totally believe that there would be a lot of crazy religious shit coming up, at like in an end of the world situation, obviously, because that's what those people live for.
Yeah, I would just stay away from religious people at the end of the world.
Yeah, but I just don't know why it's so vital to place them in every single one of these films. Sometimes it can be important, and stuff like, I don't know, like The Stand or something like that was, cool. Even in Bird Box, it was an acceptable scene, and their inclusion was acceptable because there was like this one guy that you didn't know was actually crazy. But like in The Silence, it was just so
right off the bat, you knew there was something wrong because he was just like,
and it was super,
what the fuck?
It was super like dramatic, like unnecessarily dramatic. I just didn't like it from the get-go. I would have rather this movie had been a real, like, I don't know, just very tense monster movie where they're trying to get away from these things, have it be like all at night or something, and they're trying to escape somewhere or something like that. I don't know. I just didn't feel like the suspense was there. I didn't really feel that worried for any of the characters exactly, and so I don't know, that sense of urgency just wasn't like there for me.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, because it didn't seem like these bad things, like you said, at first they were a big deal, but then they were like, it's people now, people are monsters. Like,
right.
I'm just so tired of, I won't watch anything that's post-apocalyptic.
I don't know. You could kind of tell that some of the writing in this was pretty bad.
Go to hell, mockbusters, okay? Okay, I hate post-apocalyptic movies now because just too much. I've watched too much Walking Dead. I've seen A Quiet Place. I've seen hundreds of
There's
movies.
lots of cliches.
Literally hundreds of. I've seen at least 100 movies that are all like apocalypse, or if not 100 movies, 100 episodes of a TV show where it's like, oh no, the end of the world. And I've played games where it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
This didn't do it for me. Like, there wasn't enough imagination. It was just like, end of the world monsters? How about another problem, a cult? And then you're just like, oh, the more of these people are the real monsters, bullshit, and people will turn on you at the end of the world. Like, we get it. Just enough, please. I don't. If another movie comes out like this, we're not even gonna talk about it. We're just gonna be like, and now for the chopping block, we got 2 movies. First movie is The Silence. It's a no on that one, and now let's talk about the second movie more in depth because it's actually good.
Yeah, sure. There you go. So yeah,
no more apocalypse. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that. If it comes now, I won't care. Like, if right now a meteor hit us and we were all like mutants and we had, and I would be like, you know what?
Yeah.
At least some excitement is added to life. Everyone's on edge now.
Oh man. Yeah. It's a very obvious like trend that's happening with horror movies coming out, but
yeah, it's not cool.
I don't know. So yeah, it sounds like you are chopping this one, and I agree with that.
I'm chopping it into 666 tiny pieces and setting it aflame. I'm never, ever never watching this movie again.
There you go. I don't hate it quite as much, but it was mostly just a really big disappointment to me. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Ever.
So guys,
never.
That's all we have.
Never.
Samael is never going to watch.
I'm gonna
The
get a
Silence
fucking
again.
nosebleed. I'm so sick of these apocalypse. Who just said here's a great fucking idea? 1800 apocalypse things that are trending right now. Let's make another one. But Black Summer's so good on Netflix. Z Nation, Walking Dead, meh. You bunch of fucking pieces of shit. You don't know anything bad when you see it. There's good bad, like 1980s the stuff, and then there's bad, like today's the Bird Box, today's the Silence, today's fucking Walking Dead. Everything is shite, as the Irish would say.
There you go.
It is shite. Everything is so shite. I'm so sick of it.
We don't really recommend you watch this one, but if you check it out, let us know what you think. You can reach out to us on all of our social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for Grave Discussions or Grave Disc SRD on Twitter. And then we have a website as well, gravediscussions.net. So go check us out, listen to our episodes, see our host bios, contact us, and that's going to wrap it up for episode 58.
We'll see you next week on Grave Discussions. Never.
This has been an SRD production.